Ensure nothing gets left behind. Discover the power of finally block for reliable code execution. Welcome everyone. In today's session, we are going to talk about finally block. So without wasting any time further, let's proceed with the video. Now the finally block is a piece of code that will always execute in our program. Basically, in case of code which are generating exceptions. So no matter if an exception is there or not, finally block will always execute. So we have seen code written inside try block, and in case of any exception, any code after that inside the try block are skipped and the catch is executed. In case of no exception, then try block is executed and catch is skipped. So in any of the scenario, one or the other block is skipped. But in case of exception handling, you want a certain block which you want to get executed no matter exception occurred or not, then finally block is there for your solution. And why it is there? Because sometimes a situation comes when you need something that always executes. So for all those situations, finally block is there for the rescue. Now suppose in a method we are returning from a method and want to execute a compulsory statement before returning from try and catch. In that situation, compulsory statement will be assigned to finally block. Now few of you might be thinking, oh, I don't need finally block, I can write anything after catch and that will be executed. Now to clarify your doubt, I will show you a situation which cannot be resolved by any other means than to use a finally block. So what are we waiting for? Let's quickly hit to the org and check this out practically. So guys, here we are in our org, and right now you are checking out a program which I have created one of the previous video where I was explaining you about try catch. Now in this program you can clearly see that this show method is accepting a string. Inside this try block I am converting that string to uppercase and then storing it into text, and finally I am printing original and the converted text. Here I am having null pointer exception because in case if no string is passed, then this specific line will generate an exception. Now in that specific scenario, the bottom two lines of the try block will be skipped, catch will be executed, and then compulsory statement will be executed. In case if no exception is there, then everything inside try will be executed, catch will be skipped, and this line after catch, compulsory statement will be executed. Now most of you would be saying that, hey, here compulsory statement will execute no matter exception is occurring or not. So what is the need of finally block? So I will explain you that in a while, but let me show you that yes, compulsory statement is executing in all the scenarios. So for that, I will open my anonymous window, and in the anonymous window, I will mention the class name, then mention the show method, and here inside the show method, I will pass a string. Now right now I am passing a string like suppose Amit, or in lowercase, clicking on execute, clicking on debug only, and here you can see it is printing original Amit, converted Amit, and compulsory statement as well. So when no exception occurred, still this statement which is after the catch block is executing. Now let's check a scenario when exception is occurring. So if I am not passing anything over here, instead of that I am passing null and clicking on execute. Now in this scenario exception occurred. Because of that you can see it is only printing exception caught and compulsory statement. So what happened here is when I was passing null, it came here when it was executing this line, that is converting it to an uppercase. An exception occurred, and because of that it came to catch block, and that's why it printed exception caught, and then it printed compulsory statement. Now guys, you might be thinking, then what is the need of finally block? Why we will create a finally block? Now of course, if here I will keep a finally block just after the catch and keep this statement inside the finally, the output will remain same and there won't be any difference. For example, let me save this, execute, and if I click on debug only, still you will get the same output. So now you might be thinking, what's the benefit of finally? Finally is beneficial in situation where you are having the try catch inside a method and also the method is returning something. Now for example, to explain this, I am removing this finally block, so I am keeping the finally inside comment, and now this is outside finally. The other thing that I am doing over here is I am returning from this method, so I am returning a string. Okay. So because this method is returning something, I should have a return statement. So what I am doing here is, if everything goes well, I will return text over here, and if any problem would be there inside catch, I will return null and save this. Now as soon as I will try to do that, another error will come. Now why this error is coming? This error is saying that this line number 14 code is unreachable code. You can check it out at the bottom. It is saying line number 14 is unreachable. And now why it became unreachable? The reason is simple. In case of try block, if try block is getting executed, that means there is no exception. So all the statement of try is getting executed. In that case, it is returning text. And in case if any exception is occurring inside try, then catch is executed, and in that case it is returning null. And in both the scenario, it is getting returned before reaching to this system.debug. And that's why this system.debug after the try catch became unreachable code. So how to resolve this? There are two solutions. One is to copy this compulsory statement in the try and the catch both places before returning. So in that scenario, this single statement will be at two separate places. Now for single statement, it is fine. Imagine that you are executing a bunch of statement over there. Definitely it will be a code redundancy. And in future, if you want to update it, you have to update it at both the places. The best solution is finally block. You can create a finally block, add that statement which you want to execute before the method should return inside the finally, and then save it. Now if you see, there won't be any error inside this program and you can execute it successfully. So this is the purpose of finally block, and that's why we create a finally block in case of exception handling. So guys, that marks the end of this session. See you soon in the next session. Till then, thank you and take care.